Hello there. I'm inviting a few people. Today I would like to discuss human values and human limitations and how does it play in to everyday affairs and your spiritual path. Because that's a really significant question that only each one of us can answer for ourselves. So however you rock and roll it, you're going to rock and roll it your way. And I think it's fair to say that without discussion, none of us really get to the views and we have to do it alone. So I'm going to ask you to share this out. I'm going to ask you also to be open-minded because we're living in a time where it's very chaotic and there's a lot of goodness that we don't tap into. And we don't tap into the goodness because we're too busy elsewhere. Whether we're caught up in other people's lives, whether we are running from our own lives, maybe we're just trying to make it, maybe we don't have the courage to understand what it means to us. You know, there's so many different things going on. But in order for us to really get to a place in our lives, not only our everyday lives, our spiritual life, you know, I think that we should discuss being human and why so many people don't want to be human because it's hard. And they create these things that takes away from the human experience. Because no matter who you are, if you're striving to do better than what you really are striving for, is something of yourself, of your life, of your purpose, right? But because we're running away from our own traumas, what really happens is that there are times that we allow human limitation to get in the way. Hello, Francis. I'd like to have a little chat with you sometimes. Are you open for that? I think it'll be a cool thing. And the reason why I decided to do this video is for a few reasons. And Francis is one of them. Not only Francis, what I've been observing within our value system, especially with people that are stepping into a higher self. There's too much nonsense that goes on. So how do you break it down? Because that really is a valid question. How do you break this down? Where do you bring the human in? If you are here to evolve, why are you stuck in the same drama that causes you to make excuses and use the divine, the human, everything under the sun, but the real issue, the human is the issue. Our value system is the issue. Our limitations that we don't want to miss is the issue. So we go around and what we kind of do is that we create this drama and we create this silliness that goes around and we miss the path. And I ponder and I hem and haw, and I also, wrote a meme today that stated, you don't have to kiss anybody's arse to be accepted. When you are in natural balance of a divine spirit, what happens is that there's a mutuality of respect. Because people don't like to be called on this. And I understand that because I had to call myself on a lot of things. Because look, guys, if you don't call yourself on the things that you are evolving away from, then how are you ever going to know what your purpose and your place is? And look, I'm not one that messes with a lot of people because it's impossible for me to do that. But I observe and I'm on here when I'm on here, and the things that I have accomplished is because I strictly wanted to do it. But when you are changing, when you are evolving, when you are at a certain place of time, and you are living in a chaotic world, territories are defending themselves. Now, you don't see what's going on? We have half-truths about what's going on in the Middle East, right? We have half-truths what's going on in our own territories and communities. And yet we're striving to be better people and to open up this path that we can use our divinity, whatever they might be, in our conscious mind. But we forget that the limitation of the human being is nothing to be looked down upon, because if you are evolving, you're getting past limitations. But some of the stuff that I see that goes on in a world that we are all human and make mistakes, that's not it. But the outright jackknifing, where's your value system? So in other words, let me get this straight, because sometimes I catch on a little slow. What you're saying is that in your divineness, you don't want to interact with your humanness, but you're so divine and you're powerful and you're acting the way you're acting. What am I missing here? Because if you're really getting it together, you should not have to stand on the fence. You should not always take a position of neutrality when there are discussions that have to be on the table, but you don't have to do it classless. And sometimes a bitch is a bitch, like a dick is a dick, right? And it's part of human nature, and we're afraid to say it like that because you think it takes away from your holiness. But I see a lot of beautiful people that come on here in all walks of the paradigm, because there's influences in many different ways, right? Right? But what happens is that your soul is so ugly, because the first opportunity you get, instead of discussing anything, your tools are out to harm people. Tools are out to harm people. So how do I handle that? Because I am holy and divine. And that doesn't mean I don't raise hell and I need a little holy water sometimes. I get my limitations. But being aware of my limitations helps me to exceed them, because as I exceed them, I am not taking away from the human experience. I believe in things like longevity and keeping myself healthy and not aging. And they do work. Of course, those of you that have known me, I've been on the scene over 10 years now, right? I haven't aged that much, although I am aging. I'm not denying that. Because I found that in my psyche, I could reverse things. I'm learning about my body. Understand little things can help my gut. I didn't even, know these things in the beginning, because I was taught the same dogma you guys were taught. It's dogma. Then I go and I see these things. And don't get me wrong. When you practice, you should practice any way you want. When you invite in, you should invite in any way you want. And this thing that we are one. You are plugged into a universal consciousness, but you have individuality. Get it through your heads. You are not one and all on the same level, because each grade of no, I don't want to say it that. Blunder, guys. Each blade of grass in this planet, on this planet rather, is different. Just like your unique blueprint is different, because you have an identity and an individuality. What are you not getting here? What are you not getting here? So are you kind? Are you kind? Are you still holding a grudge and an unconditional love? Really reached out. I'm going to tell you something. I'm very like a straight up type of a person, and sometimes I could be a little stubborn, and I get that. And when I have a feeling about somebody, I have to go over and over it again, because sometimes I don't want my own ego or my own biased ways to get into the situation. And the scariest thing, right? The scariest thing is that when you practice unconditional love, or you want to be forgiven, or you feel that you could have done things differently, and you put your ego away and say, let me reach out. And those very same people that you had really like 95% a great relationship, they use things against you. That's not unconditional love. What's that? What's that significant? And yes, there are other things that you just can't. So I did my own experiment, and Francis is on here, and we had our disagreements, and I'm still like on the fence, because I'm not going to let anybody speak to me disrespectfully, just like I wouldn't. Because do it to other people. I have like this poise about me, and if I'm telling you to fuck off, then it's direct and it's over, right? But the thing is that I realized, because for a while he was sending me friend requests and being on the video, and I ignored it. And I said, you can't be a two-faced and a hypocrite, Teresa, because the same thing that you were experimenting with other people that you cared for and they didn't want to extend to you, you're doing the same thing to him. That's not how that you learn nothing then, right? See, because I could look at myself and say those things, right? And then I said, let's rock it. And then we are rocking it, and I understand it. My thing is that you could disagree with me all you want, but you're not putting me on blast. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and I see the brilliancy, and I understand everything about everything. But that's the truth. And now, like, when I kick it, I can have fun with it, because I don't have that, because I understand that, it's two people have to be willing. And then there are some other people in the community, they won't get the chance, and I won't get the chance to ever interact with each other. You want to know why? Because certain things you have to put to bed and you have to move on. But here we are, we're doing all this, and I'm observing, and I'm cracking my own shell open even more. And as we are doing this and as we are recording, I see the same old thing. So my question is that, what is your human values? You're supposed to be high-spirited and on a higher frequency. And I'm talking about all who are claiming to tap in. So you tap into a high frequency, but you have no human values. Okay. And then you can't admit you have human limitations, because if you admit you have human limitations, then you feel less than. So what are we doing here, guys? I'm here to tell you that you don't have to act like that. And I'm not saying don't go through it, and I'm not saying shit doesn't happen, and I'm not saying any of those things. But I am saying this. We are not only in spiritual warfare, and people pick and choose if they want to be in that battle. We are in a human warfare where, through digital conspiracy and human trafficking and human slavery, and the mass population being so dumbed down, that we have become a classless act, because we turn on each other. Comes a time that your trauma, that your conditions, that your demons that you are battling, you have to put it on quill mode. And when they come up, because they do, when you least expect it, You have to talk yourself out of it, or you have to reach out to somebody who is reputable. And it's the truth, Caroline. We've become a classless act as a collective. I'm talking about worldwide now. We're so afraid. We can't make it, and this is the normal thread you see through communities. People have to choose, do they put gas in their car, or do they have one less meal? What do I feed my family? How do I make it work? Do the lights stay on? And we still put ourselves into a situation where we think our very slave masters are going to free us. You must free yourself, guys, and you could do it with dignity, and you could do it with respect, and you could really hold your ground and still be a badass as you're doing it, but be human about it. Have values about yourself. Don't think you're not transparent, because you are. Even I'm transparent, right? Everybody, that's my point. We're all transparent. So if we're beloveds, I laugh about some of the people who claim to be beloveds and ladies of the Nile and etc. so on, and kings of the courtship. They're fucking heartless. They cause so much drama off camera. They gossip about everybody. They use any gifts that they might have in preference of hurting people. That's bullshit. Don't do that. There are people that can teach you how to use your mind. They have experience with this. They understand the complexities as they are living everyday life. Oh, I'm very much into the Sumerians' history because that's a basis for civilization. It's a basis for understanding the Elohim and the Elohims. There's a connection with the Amazon and the Sumerians. There's a lot of parallel. Well, you said, Caroline, and I'm answering your question. Oh, wait a minute. That there is a lot of people in the world with a lot of what? I'll have to read that later. I don't have my glasses on, and I will get back to you and write a comment and reply. But this is the truth, and we still can't get it. What do you know about love if you're acting in hate? What do you understand about forgiveness if you feel you have to forgive somebody that caused you so much damage? What about learning how to let it go and understanding that there are some things we do live with? What about not becoming a repeat offenders? How do we not do that when something's embedded 5, 6, 7 generations? When do we stop playing victim and start loving ourselves? All the things the world leaders don't want you to know. All the things that are happening. All the things that I'm telling you that you can change. Change within yourself first, guys. And as you change within yourself, you have an understanding. And as you have this understanding, you understand that the devil comes knocking at your door sometimes. Knock, knock, knock. Because it's understanding that you are changing the very things that enslaved you, that kept you into bondage, that kept you into bondage. That's right, because it's bondage that we're in. When you begin to learn to love yourself a little bit, have a little confidence, that's the first steps. Live. Understand that you don't have to keep up with the Joneses as long as you're happy and confident in your own life. Understand that each challenge will be met. And that's right, my lady. Some things cannot be forgotten. And then we learn to compartmentalize them. And when we take them out in melancholy, we mourn them, and we tuck them away again. Because this is the reality of life. And we strive each day to evolve. The universal principle of where you're plugged in. You see, people that are in a universal collective and they're plugged in and they don't acknowledge their own individuality and how they use the universal plug-in, that's a recipe for disaster, and I'll tell you why. Because some people become insane with it. Anything doesn't go. You're evolving in a universal consciousness that helps you get to a oneness where the things we are unlearning, or the things that we are, you know how everybody repeats these words, we are love, but what really is that? What happens is that we evolved into things we can be, and we say the truth about uncovering it inside of us, unleashing the dragon so the phoenix could rise. We say the truth. So that's why when we question these things that are abnormal in any community, and especially in worship, it's because we are questioning them because we can articulate what really happens in true worship, in breaking the cycles. We're actually here to break cycles of generational trauma in order to evolve to the better place where you want to be. And that means you teach your kids if you have any. That means if you don't have any and you're working on yourself, you keep some psychotic thoughts in check. If you have that much trauma, it means a whole lot of things. Too much for me to get into in one video. It means all that. You can do it, and it's very cool when you do it. And everything else in between, who cares what people think? They don't eat with you. They don't pay your bills. If you're there and you give them from your heart, it's a blessing. If you're there because you want to gossip and you think that you're going to put people in your place, keep walking. I will read more of that, Caroline, after I do see that you said something about your sister. How could you get over it? Some things you can't get over. And if she never lets you forget it, then maybe you distinguish yourself from her. And you eliminate the enemy, and sometimes, you know, we do have enemies within our own family. And maybe you can eliminate that enemy, but maybe you take a different direction with that enemy. Because it's a mind warfare now. And that's what you're battling. Not only are you battling, you know, the trauma of it all, it's the mind that still haunts you, that you have to quill and you have to come to terms with. Everybody has a sad story at one point or another, some more sadder than others. But when it's sad, it's the sadness that you live in your own heart. We can't downplay somebody else's sadness, but there's a lot of people with a story. So that's how I'm rocking and rolling, and that's how I'm ending this. Stop being fly on a game that has no, you're not super fly on your game, guys, because there is real stuff that happens in transformation. Real stuff. Real genuineness. You're entitled to live. You're entitled to have fun. You're entitled. You're entitled to heal. You have to learn it somewhere, and that's one step at a time. So peace out, rock out. I have a family day today, so I have to continue on. But it's possible, and we have to discuss these issues. Because if we don't discuss these issues, you stay stuck in the matrix of doom and gloom, and you don't have to be there. There is a light. Maybe not the way you want it to be, but there is a peace that comes over mind, body, and soul. Love you guys.